especially since I'm streaming from Zoom to Facebook so I can share my screen. I really don't know if I am or not. How can I tell if I am actually live? One wonders. Let's see. Oh, someone liked it. So that must mean that you can see me and hear me. Hooray! Hello, friends. My name is Morgan, and it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Check it out. Check out that view down here in Mexico. It was cold this morning, but I have mastered fire building. I am now building myself a fire every morning as my only source of warmth when it drops down to 40 degrees here at night, here in the desert. It gets pretty cold. Spike and I stay pretty cozy. Yeah. And today I'm really excited to be here because it's day one of the Money Manifestation Accelerator Challenge, which is a totally free thing that I offer, mostly for funsies, but also because I just noticed that with a lot of people in my world, a lot of the yoga teacher world, and really just a lot of people who were healing, they had this kind of interesting relationship to money where it really stressed them out. Right. And anytime there's stress in the body, there's an opportunity to heal. And the methods that I devised in order to help you guys heal this money story is this challenge where you get a little bit more information about what's going on just based on the numbers. We do a little bit of work around your relationship to those numbers. And then we share that information with each other so that we can normalize the idea of big numbers, right? Whether it's big debt, which is where I know a lot of you guys are, which is why this is a free challenge, or whether it's like a big savings goal that's like, I just don't know if I'll ever be able to get there. There's always some sort of money story that's coursing through us in terms of how like it feels like money is something that holds us back when really it should be money is something that sets us free. And there are so many things that get in the way of that. Money is empowering, right? Money is liberation. Money sets me free, especially with the divine feminine in us, the human feminine really, and I don't mean that in terms of gender, I mean the energy of femininity, the yang energy really just wants to give and feels like the more they bring in, it means someone else has less. And that's just not how it works. So that's been interesting watching these things unfold within my one-on-one work and my small group coaching and free challenges like this is helping people realize like, no, when you have more money, that means there's more that you can give. Right. And that's a big part of this challenge. And the homework that we're going to do today is keeping in mind the reason that we need so much money is to make not just our world better, but the world of our immediate and therefore expanding community better as well. So this challenge is for you if thinking about money stresses you out. If you have some sort of goal that requires money, which is most things, right? And you're just not sure how to get there, then this will help you just take those super simple steps to get clarity on how to make your goals happen pretty quickly. It was always surprising to me last round how quickly people see the results of this. Some people before the challenge was even over were like, oh my gosh, I just, signed my first client. And some people I was hearing within a few weeks, just like how much abundance this brought into them. But I can tell you, I was just talking on my podcast with someone who mentioned that, she recommends spending an hour a day just studying money. And I realized like when I was learning about money that I would spend like 3 to 4 hours a day reading through personal finance blogs and, all the different advice that you can get, listening to podcasts, because this is my money story. I graduated from college at the height of one of our recessions, 2008, around that time, right when it was beginning. And I had an English degree, and I also was working 4 jobs to put myself through school to live in an expensive place like Santa Barbara. And I also had a lot of debt. I had 5 figures in credit card debt, even though I was working so much. I was bartending, I was bookkeeping for 3 different businesses. Occasionally, I would get like a retail job, like working at Levi's, whatever I could do to bring in just like the littlest bit of money, right? We're not talking about, big wage jobs here. I was making, between 15 to 25 bucks an hour at each of these jobs. Every once in a while, I'd have a good night at the bar and, bring home $1,000 in a night. But for the most part, I was making like probably under 100 bucks a day in a very expensive place. And it was just exhausting. I would show up to a bookkeeping job at noon. I would work there for a few hours, and then I would show up for a bartending gig at 9 p.m. And I would work there until 4 a.m., often the only person working without like a bar back or, someone to, no bouncer or anything. And then I would wait, go home and do it all over again, somehow squeezing in schoolwork somewhere in there. And after I graduated from college and I had a little bit more time to, study these more practical things, not how to write an expository essay in 30 minutes, but, how to balance a checkbook, that I started learning, like I'd been doing it all wrong. I, I really needed to focus on like some higher ticket items in order to really bring in wealth. And so that led me to, developing online businesses and various different passive income streams, because that was one of the biggest pieces of advice that I saw over and over again is you have to have multiple income streams in order to build real wealth. And that has been proven to me over and over again as I've gone through this world. I worked in the corporate world for over 10 years until I was laid off. And it was like such a blessing because I was so over it. And I knew like, oh, I'm never going to work for anyone else again. This is great. I get to run my business full time. But there's, a lot of people think working for a corporation gives them some sense of security. And it's such a false sense of security because that corporation doesn't have any loyalty to you. And it's only because I had spent some time building up side income streams. I was teaching yoga on the side. I had a few online ventures going. And most importantly, I'd had good saving structure. So I had a lot of money in investments that I'd made over the past 10 years in real estate and index funds and stocks that paid off over 10 years. So I had a good bit of capital to really invest in my business and was able to grow it something sustainable into a brand that I really love, Splendid Yoga. So that's kind of where my background comes from in terms of learning about money. I've studied it a lot, but I also used to work at a bank. I worked at a bank when I was 18 years old. And that's where I really first learned how to dissociate value from money. And that's one of the things I want to emphasize through this challenge is we have this situation of like the value of money, but it's so movable, right? And I'll give you an example. So like if you're, traveling through a touristy part of the world and there's a bottle of water for sale and it's $10 and you're like, oh, that's way too much money, but I'm so thirsty, I'm just going to buy it. And then you're like thinking about it like, I can't believe I spent $10 on a bottle of water and it's bugging you. Think about that $10 if you like went to fill up your car with gas and it only costs $10 to fill up the whole thing. And suddenly now, you're like, oh, I can drive for so many miles and that was so cheap. And you just feel really good about like, oh, what a deal, what a bargain. And it's like, it's the same $10, but we associate such a story to it. You know what I mean? About what it means to spend $10, because either way, like whether you're buying water, which is of course a life source, a source of energy, something you need in your body to keep going, versus fuel for a car, which is also a source of energy and something you need to keep going, right? The money where we put our money is where we put our power, right? So rather than thinking, oh my gosh, that was so expensive for $10 for a bottle of water, now you're thinking, I'm so grateful that I had the money that I could buy that water that I really need in order to propel myself forward. And then anytime you find a deal, it's just like the cherry on top, right? Ooh, bonus, gas was really cheap today. Okay, so you can hear more about my money story in my podcast, the Manage Your Money Yogically podcast. I recommend that first season, especially because it ties into this challenge really well if you're a podcast person. I'm going to get into how to enter the giveaway. Okay, so I'm going to start sharing my screen right now. Let's see if it'll let me share my screen. Yes, please. Did I do it? Can you guys see that? Okay. So if you log in to the Kajabi portal, which I put the link up there in the notes, you're going to see access to the Money Manifestation Accelerator, the 3-day challenge. And if you look at day one, the video is already up. So this is the video from the last round. It'll give you all the details, which I am going to go through again here. But it'll also get you a link to a meditation that you can download to help you subconsciously with those money blocks that I was talking about that have been holding you back, that have been making money a source of stress. This is going to help turn this discussion about money into a source of pleasure and abundance and being excited. And then you're also going to have access to the Google Doc here. There's the link, and then you can just download it directly as well. So the Google Doc is going to have, it's going to look like this. Let me just walk you through it real quick, how to use this bad boy. This can take anywhere from like a few minutes of your time to, if you really want to dig into it, like give yourself an hour or two to really give yourself time to go into all your accounts and get a good picture of your money story. But I'm going to tell you, if you just have a few minutes to do this course, the most important thing you can do is this tab right here. So first of all, if you go into the Google Doc, you're going to go into File and then make a copy in order to edit it yourself. And then I'm going to start with this last tab here, your dream budget. Okay, so this is the most fun part, so that's why I'm doing it first. So here's where you're going to put in everything that you have said no to in the past, however long, as much as you can remember, because you can't afford it. Right. So here I put like, these are things that just came to me off the top of my head. A trip to India for like 6 months. Oh, I can't afford it. 15 grand. A gift for Marta, my housekeeper, $50, too expensive. An actual housekeeper actually paying for that service, $60. Nope, I can't afford it. Laundry service, so I never have to deal with my own laundry, $150. Nope, can't afford it. You go down the list right here. I don't have kids, so this isn't relevant to me, but you know, another example of things that you're like, okay, if I had the money, this would really make a marked difference in my joy, in my energy, in my life in general. If I could pay off my student loans tomorrow, if I had that extra 10 grand or 50 grand or 100 grand, I can't pay it off tomorrow because I can't afford it, right? So I want you to just write down every single thing and then approximately how much you think it would cost, right? Like if you want to dig into it, you can start really researching it, but just kind of ballpark it, throw out a number about how much you think it would cost to afford to like actually afford it, right? Like if someone were to come and say, I'm going to write you a blank check for you to do one thing on this list, like pick out a number that they would have to give you so that you could actually do one of these things. But what we're going to do is figure out the grand total number, and that's this number right here. So that's cell H9, and don't do anything with it because it's calculating for you, right? Based on what you're entering in to this column D here. So, that's another good thing about this spreadsheet. So you only want to change the stuff that's white, because if you change any of the stuff that's colored, it's going to mess up the whole spreadsheet. You're going to have to download a new one. Okay, so just based on these things that I threw out there randomly, the total here was about 1.4 million. Now, this is how much you would have to make per day to make this amount of money in X number of years. So here's what I mean. If you wanted to save up that amount of money in 1 year, you would have to make $3,965, almost $4,000 a day over the course of the next year. Okay, so that seems like a lot of money, but let's come down here. Let's say you wanted that number in the next 10 years. And this, by the way, this is your retirement number. This number, once you have this saved up, this means that you don't have to work anymore. Any work you do from here on out is just a bonus. And I'll explain why in a moment. But let's say you're like, okay, 10 years feels a little bit more reasonable. That's around $400 a day. But here's where things get kind of interesting is like these numbers get really close together in terms of like, okay, so 396, 440, 495, right? It's only about $50 apart. It's pretty close. But 2 years of your life, right? That's a lot. That feels like 2 years feels like a bigger value system than $50. You know what I mean? Okay. So we're giving this goes down all the way up to like 30 years because often people talk about a 30-year retirement plan. So this is where coming down here, if you did $132 a day, you would save up that amount of money in 30 years. If you did an extra $4 a day, $136, you would shave an entire year off of that, right? And part of that is because of the value of compound interest. And part of it is because of, I think it's called Benson's Law, but a big part of it is just getting through the money block of like, okay, I need this big number. But once you break it down to how much you actually need to make per day to save up to that number, it's a little bit easier for the brain to accept like, okay, actually, I can do that. I can figure that out. So the reason that this is your retirement number is because, okay, so now no matter what you want to afford, you know you can buy it. You know you have the cash to buy it. And chances are, especially for the bigger ticket items, you're probably going to be financing it. But because you have that money sitting in the bank, you know you can just go out and buy whatever it is you need in order to make your life work, right? And I'm talking about things like you can get extravagant with it, but think of money in terms of flow, right? So it's not just like, I want all this money because I want to live a hedonistic life. It's like, no, I want all this money because I want more time to, you know, hang out with my family, right? Or I want this beautiful dream house because I want to raise my family here, right? Or I want to pay for this master's program because I value education and I'm going to be able to help people more with this education, right? Or I want a housekeeper because I want to spend my time actually working, you know, on my business rather than cleaning my house, okay? So always think about the next step. So it's not just, I want this money in my account, but remind yourself of the reason, the very really selfless reason that you're doing this, which is, you know, ultimately to help other people in some capacity. Okay, so that's the number that you want to have saved up in order to say, oops, I don't have to work anymore. You're going to be generating, we can say conservatively, a 5 to 10% return on that money, which, you know, $1.4 million. Let's do the math really quick here. 140 divided by 0.05%, or rather times 0.05%. is going to be 70 grand. All right. So if you're making a 0.05, right, 5% return on $1.4 million, you're already bringing in $70,000, which is more than most people are making, definitely in the world, especially in America. So that's why this number grants you real freedom in terms of like, oh, I don't have to work that job that I hate anymore. Or now it's my choice and I can cut back my hours and only work the amount of time that actually serves me and not the, 50 hours a week that really drains me. So, okay. So let's kind of go back a little bit. This is the fun one. This is what you're going to do to enter the giveaway. You're going to enter this number into the Facebook group, which right after this video is done, you're going to see a new post in the Facebook group that says, post your day one homework here. And this is where you're going to post that number. You're going to enter into the giveaway. Today's giveaway, which I'm going to pick tomorrow, you're going to win from Energymuse one of these beautiful money manifestation bracelets, which include malachite, garnet, tiger's eye. That's one of my favorites because of the Judy Blume book. Pyrite, I can't pronounce that one. Bloodstone, citrine, amethyst, clear quartz, the most powerful crystals for money and prosperity. There's your woo science for the day. You're also going to get a gift certificate to White North Shop. I just interviewed Diana for my podcast. Y'all should go listen to her story about how she, a transplant in Canada from Colombia, created this beautiful apparel shop. They have lots of cool stuff. This is what I'm into. This is what's on my wish list, is this bodysuit. Look at this onesie. It's adorable. I love love it, I would stain that immediately, but it'd be worth it. Okay, so the other two tabs here are some personal finance stuff. So this one is, I want you to guess your budget. So that's just kind of ballparking like, okay, this is how much I think this stuff costs. And I filled in all these white boxes here. You can change these, but remember, don't change the colored ones. So you can put in like kind of what you think your average spend for groceries is, what you're spending on electricity, if you have a dog or children, what you're spending on there. Right? So we have like, you can put in all your income sources up here. You can put in your fixed expenses, the things that are always the same every month. Do you hear Spike growling at the birds? These are your variable expenses, the things that change, that you have a little bit more control and negotiating room over. And then we come over here and you're going to put your debt. So you put your student loan debt, how much you have to pay per month, your car payment. If you have any credit card, you're going to put your minimum payment per month. And then we have, if you have any savings accounts, if you have an emergency fund, a retirement account, and other savings that you contribute to it every single month, right? So this is like if you're putting 50 bucks away into an account that you're having as an emergency fund separate from your checking account. So you're just transferring money, but you still own that money. You would put that here. And then you're going to enter in this column K over here, the total numbers for your debt and the total numbers in your savings accounts today. Like, and you're just, again, guessing it for this spreadsheet. This is going to give you your bottom line, which is how much income you make per month, how much you spend per month, and then what the difference is. So in this example, which I just threw in randomly, after adding up everything, we're at a deficit of $1,600 per month. So that's where we're like, okay, so now, if I want to make my dream budget number happen, I've got to pay this off first. I've got to figure out this deficit per month. I've got to find an income stream for that, or I need to reduce my expenses. Your actual budget is where you're actually going to log into every single account that holds any money or any meaningful money, like your debt situation, to get those numbers accurate. So I would recommend starting with your primary checking account and then just going through, okay, each of the income streams that came in, put down every single penny that you received in the last 30 days, the last month. Same for your fixed expenses, exactly what you spent on your mortgage, if you have an HOA, your cell phone, your health insurance, any subscriptions, anything that comes out of your account every single month. And then you'll go through your variable expenses and you'll actually add up, you know, based on, I use credit cards for everything because it makes it easier for me to track my spending as opposed to paying cash for everything where you have to save receipts in order to keep this stuff, with track of this stuff. Your debit card, of course, would do the same thing. You're going to add up exactly how much you spent on your groceries, your electricity bill, et cetera. And then you're going to log into each of the debt accounts that you have. So if you have a student loan, don't be scared. I know a lot of you are like, oh God, I just can't even handle the number, right? No. Today is the day. I'm going to hold your hand. Just know that I'm there with you, like, and just breathing, like remove the value of that number, right? Remember the $10 versus $10. What if it were a $100,000 bottle of water versus a $100,000 like trip to the moon, like enough fuel to get to the moon, right? The numbers don't matter. What matters is getting clarity on the numbers so that you can proceed going forward, so that you can make a decision to use money as a source of power rather than using it as a source of stress. Okay, so we got to get those numbers down. So you're going to log into each account and write down exactly what you have to pay per month and the total balance due today, what you would have to pay today to pay it off. And then I recommend putting the date here so that you can check in a few months, I guess. This is like kind of a good once a month exercise, once a quarter at least, to see how those numbers have changed. Same with the savings accounts. And this is going to give you a bottom line of, okay, exactly how much money you brought in per month, exactly how much money you brought in per day, your expenses per month and per day, and then the remaining, so the delta. So in here, I didn't have any dollar amounts in the expenses. So we'll just put in one there real quick to give it a number there. Okay, so then the remaining would be, yeah, now you have an extra $1,000 a month that you get to choose what you want to do with, right? Ideally, it's a positive number. For a lot of us, that's going to be a negative number, but not a negative experience, just something we need to change. So this is going to give you the information about how much you need to make per day in order to make your life work, right? So this is how much per day extra we have right now, 33.33, based on this very quick fake spreadsheet that I just put together. So now you know the difference between this number and this number, whatever you've chosen here, is how much extra we, whoops. That's my alarm. Do you guys like it? It always wakes me up. Wham. Okay, so the difference between this number, how much extra or how much of a deficit you have per day, and this number is where we have to figure out your income stream, right? Because the whole point of this is to figure out, we definitely need to be bringing in more money. It needs to be an additional income stream for a little while in terms of what we're doing with our time. But it doesn't need to freak us out, okay? So as you're figuring out these numbers, just keep breathing, stay calm. That's why I give you the meditation to do first. But if all you're interested in is the giveaway, or you already have, like, you're feeling good about your financial situation, this is the part of the spreadsheet that you want to worry about in order to enter the giveaway. You're going to put this number here in cell H9 into the Facebook post that probably just posted on the Facebook group. And then you're going to follow, I put the links in the comments, you're going to follow White North Shop, and you're going to follow Energymuse on the Instagram in order to enter to win one of these bracelets and a gift certificate, a $50 gift certificate to this awesome new shop to get yourself some new clothing. Okay, let me get rid of my screen so you can see my beautiful face. I did put on mascara for this. I put on lipstick. I did not wash my hair because I live in the desert and the water is trucked in once a month, so we have to conserve it. Thank you for joining. I hope that the connection was okay. I know I went through that stuff pretty quickly, so if you go to the Kajabi portal, you can watch the video where I go way more in depth into how to do the spreadsheet, and maybe you can even get it done like while you're watching the video, and then it's just a half an hour, and you'll have that number and you'll be able to, yeah, come in and join us as we continue figuring out our money stuff and using it as a source of empowerment. Thanks, everyone. Leave a comment if you watched. If you replayed, little hashtag replay action. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.